Hello, everyone, and welcome to Entertainment Expansion. We are your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Wick. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, absolutely splendid, my friend. We're here talking about the final John Wick movie, and it's a franchise that has not disappointed at all, really. Obviously, we're not here to talk about the entire franchise, but let it be known some are slightly better than others with throughout the four films, but all four films were kind of on par and just good movies overall. So it's nice that they kind of stuck to that and delivered us a film finale that was worth the character.
I was there before we get into the fourth film, and I don't think it needs to be mentioned, but I'll say it anyway. Full spoilers for this film. This is, I think, one of the few consistent franchises I've ever seen for film.
Yes, probably the most consistent.
Like, they're all hits.
Yes,
Like, obviously, like you said, some better than others. But if someone comes up to me and be like, uh, you know, John Wick Chapter 2 is the best. I can see where they're coming from. I might not agree, but I can they can make a solid case.
yes, they can. Even with three, they can do that,
With
and
three,
I
with
wouldn't
four,
agree.
with one, you can make a solid case for any of them.
Yes,
And that is rare for a franchise. I mean, shit, was one of the like Lord of the Rings was a franchise like that, right? Three movies. Don't talk about The Hobbit. It's just, um,
yeah.
like there's very few franchises that you can say that to. It's a high compliment to everyone who's made these films. But let's talk about three, chapter four, not three, yeah, chapter four.
Yeah.
I have my thoughts on you saying final film, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Final film with John Wick.
Look, they made it open enough where he can still be alive.
Doubtful.
There's no dead body. Just saying that.
I think that was pretty conclusive, but we'll get there. We'll
Okay.
get there.
Yeah. Let's talk about the positive. So we've been waiting for a few years for this. I think we'll do the easiest thing first. The action's amazing. Shocker. I know. Fourth John Wick movie, and the action's still amazing. But I think for me, it, John Wick 3, because I actually watched some of the scenes leading up to my excitement for 4. A lot of those scenes were very up close, close quarter combat kind of kills, kind of fights.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like with 4, they did up the ante with like there's groups going at them at a time. It's less close quarters and more of like, I mean, the staircase scene I think is a great example of that. I think also the I don't know what it's called, but like the giant ass roundabout in Paris, right, where people just keep coming left, right, center
Yes.
into the big fight that's going on. Like it's very chaotic, and I thought it was great.
The movie kind of played in the chaos throughout the entirety of the film,
It did.
and I feel like it worked. Because even the first big action set piece of the movie in the uh, which continental was it? The one in Japan?
Yeah, Osaka.
When he was kind of going through the room, picking up weapons as he went along, and he was getting attacked by groups. He was using nunchucks. I want nunchucks now, but let's not get into that. So in between the gunplay and then nunchucks, and then vice versa, like goddamn, and then him being absolutely gassed after like a couple rounds. So it showed a lot of realism
Yep.
because no one can sustain that for too long and just be perfectly fine. John Wick is human. He's just an exceptional human being. Um, so I think that's a very important, nice thing to see.
Yeah, no,
Um,
definitely. And I think, well, tiredness, yes. Though I will say Osaka and Berlin, I think they handled like those were more realistic fights and how much stamina a person would have. I will say that kind of went out the window in Paris. How many cars was John Wick thrown into?
yeah,
Then he goes down three-story building, hits another van to cushion his fall, and then goes down a staircase almost 2 full times before the final duel. Like, Jesus, man, how is he
yeah.
standing? I get it, it's John Wick and all that, but like,
So
one of the complaints throughout the series has been, oh well, ever since John Wick 1, they've kind of gotten less and less realistic. I feel for 4 they were pretty realistic up until Paris.
Yeah, but even in Paris, it was. I feel like it was more realistic than the third movie.
In what
I
way?
think they and kind of all of it because even Paris, like there were certain scenes that yes, you had to suspend a certain level of disbelief or belief, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but it wasn't as bad as three, I think.
Well, was the issue with 3 because it literally happens right after 2, so all of 2 happens, and then 1 hour later 3 occurs. So it's like, really, he's just doing this lifelong endurance.
Yes.
Because like in 4, they clearly set up it's been a few months because they reference events that happen in between the 2 films. Obviously, he's healed up, so he has had time to get trained for this, which is good. I think that was good plot wise.
Yeah, and back to the three-story building fall. That's more believable than the fall at the end of two or three, where it was on top of the rooftop of a building that is a lot higher than 3 stories.
But you could make the case he had multiple hits on the way down to cushion the fall. This was 3 straight stories drop flat on the top of the van and then rolled on to the ground.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Just overall, I felt like this was a little bit back to its more grounded roots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something that this movie kind of has going for it is there's not a lot of short takes.
No,
Not that there has been in the franchise, but this movie I feel like had some really long takes.
I mean the one
Where,
take for me that is a highlight of the film is the basically the video game like top down view
yep,
with those flaming shotgun rounds. It's just
yeah,
like, and the cherry on top, the John Wick first movie, the club music on top of that is like perfect.
yes,
It's like,
by far one of the best shootouts I've ever seen.
yeah,
Where you're not like in a traditional camera view, I guess,
yeah. No, it's
but
top down like a video game.
it also took a break from that several times and got you back into the action a little bit closer into it, which I kind of liked. And let's talk about Mr. Nobody's dog, shall we?
Sure.
That dog is the MV fucking P. Let me tell you. I love how they did like an alien reference when the when you just hear the growling of the dog's face come through the darkness of that hole in the wall. I was like, ah, alien reference, nice, and it kind of worked. It's like
Yeah.
whenever you heard a dog growling, you're like, oh shit's about to go down.
Well, let's spin that into the new cast of characters in this movie because another thing this franchise does well, for the most part, is they can introduce new characters out of nowhere and make you love them by the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Well, so we have Mr. Nobody, who I thought as like a younger assassin who's just getting into the game or officially working with the high table. Obviously, he's been doing it for a while. He was badass. He had
yeah,
some smart moves. Dog obviously was fantastic. Donnie Yen as Kane.
yeah,
Yes, he plays another blind man, but what I loved about him is that they easily could have been the lazy route of, okay, he's blind, but he has super hearing, and he doesn't.
correct. Just
Like
as
the
super
doorbell
skilled.
stuff, I thought was actually really unique and was funny.
Yes. Going back to Mr. Nobody though, real
Hmm.
quick, kind of talking about the future of the John Wick franchise. I feel like we could probably see him in a movie of his own.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's definitely a possibility because if there's any characters that they kind of built up a little bit and gave us a lot of screen time with, it's him.
Well, I also think another spin-off they could do, or possibly all in one film, is Akira, the daughter of the manager, right?
Yes.
Um, her going after Kane at some point. That's another loose end that could be turned into a movie. You're absolutely right, though, Mr. Nobody. If you give him a solid plot, that's a movie I want to see.
Yes.
Like that works.
Especially with his fucking one-liners. You hit my puppy. Bam. To be honest though, it's very if it's one thing that was going to align John Wick with Mr. Nobody, it's the dog.
Yeah, and even though John Wick, a man who speaks little words. They like it was a nice moment where he's about to kill Mr. Nobody, but instead
He
shoots the
saves
other
their
guy
dog.
to save the dog. Like even though he's in the middle for a fight for his life, he still looks out for dogs.
Yes.
It's small stuff like that. Besides that, I think again, just going back to the new characters. Every single one of them I like. I think the weakest one is Bill Skarsgård as the villain, as the Marquis. He's like
Yes, yes
fifty
and
fifty.
no.
No,
Yeah, I can understand that because we don't really see him do much
well, yeah, I mean, he's the
as
high
far
table
as like
guy that will send people to do the dirty work.
correct, and it kind of fits because it seems like that was a role that he inherited, and he kind of played it off like that. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I feel my issue is like obviously he is meant to ham it up as the scumbag who won't do the dirty work himself and all of that. I just feel like the script should have given him a little more to do. Like I no issue with his acting. I just feel like he wasn't like all right. Let's take what you said. This is the final John Wick film, right? It's spin-offs from here on out or prequels, whatever. This is the final villain. Like if this is John Wick's final battle against the High Table, this is the best they can come up with as a villain. Not acting wise, just writing wise. This is what they could do.
well, to be fair, there wasn't ever really a strong singular villain in any of the Wick franchises. There's always the big bad at the head of the table.
Yeah,
I think the strongest one was
in two.
uh, I would even argue in one because he actually fought him hand to hand at the end.
Yeah, but I feel like with two, he made John Wick break the rules of the Continental, setting off the events of three and four.
That's very true.
So the games he played in two, obviously, yes, if he tried the one-on-one John Wick, he's going to die instantly. But the moves he made had cataclysmic like changes. Like basically him making John Wick basically kill him in the Continental is basically the reason why Sharon is dead now in four.
Yes.
The Continental's blown up, right? Because all like one thing they repeat in this movie, and it's been a thing for this franchise, actions have consequences.
Yes.
Which they very much do. But you're right. I mean, besides two, and look, even the Russian guy in one wasn't bad, but the villain in three, the adjudicator was okay, and I think for here was again, it was okay. It's fine. I think
Because I
part
feel
of it
like,
though doesn't help that they don't talk to John Wick. We don't have that much interaction.
yeah, they're always kind of playing in the background.
Yeah, until you have to have the one scene like if you take three, I mean, John Wick doesn't meet the adjudicator at all until he's on the rooftop and then is shot off on.
Yes.
Like she's the villain for the entire movie for as a proxy for the High Table, but they don't meet until the final 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I think the most contact with the main villain would be one and two.
But that's where they're the better villains.
It's true,
Yeah.
but it kind of makes more sense storyline wise because he wouldn't be talking to the new magistrate, the head of the table.
No, you're
He
right.
wouldn't be.
Storyline wise, if the High Table is sending out every single assassin with that big ass bounty, right, of over 20 million to kill him, obviously they wouldn't have a deep conversation in the middle of the movie. Just it'd be an issue. I get that, but like it does limit the impact of the villain.
Yes.
So
Um, I don't know. I slightly disagree because I feel like there's enough context clues to give you what kind of villain he was. He was that spoiled kid that wanted to make a name for himself,
yeah, he was absolutely,
and I think he played that part very well.
especially
And I
since
think that,
Winston was able to play him pretty good toward the end.
oh yeah, because he played to his ego.
Yeah. Well, if you kill John Wick, everyone will look to you as the best one ever in the history books. That'd be something, yeah.
Yep, and that got him to change his tune very quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it makes sense storyline wise, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, this actually goes into basically my only negative of the movie is yeah, I'm wondering if there's original plan for this because the end of three clearly set up the Barry King. right? Lawrence Fishburne, John Wick, teaming up, going against the High Table.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No.
John Wick gets his freedom. Either he's dead or he's alive. Who knows? But Lawrence Fishburne doesn't do much in this movie besides deliver John Wick suits
And the Viper.
and the Viper. So they very much teased an action-packed, those two, and Lawrence Fishburne's army of homeless men who are also assassins going against the High Table. We see one guy from the High Table, and John Wick goes to war against him, and that's basically it. Like I feel like there's a disconnect in where 3 set up 4. Because the Barry King got sliced up, he's pissed off. The Marquis never did anything to him, so he
Correct.
didn't get anything out of this.
I
Like,
guess I kind of in the same sense that Winston got. It was more of I'm going to help you because it's going to help me get my revenge.
I feel like I guess for Winston
Winston
made
got to go
sense.
on a killing spree.
Like Winston made sense. He gets the hotel back. He's back as a manager. Vengeance for Sharon dying. I get that. So unless the Bowery King's like, yeah, it's kind of shit they killed, Sharon. I'll help you guys out. Like he hates the High Table, and we've only killed one main dude. But again, maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe this is a potential spin-off film, right? Because you bring up some good things about the Marquis. He mentions he wants to kill the idea of John Wick,
Yes.
which I thought was interesting as a plot line. And I do wonder if they're leaving that open because let's assume he's dead. People now know the legend of John Wick. You can go against the High Table and win. What if that's fractures the High Table in later films where some of these characters come back into play?
Yes, but also look at what it cost him. He got his freedom, but at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, it didn't matter because as of right now, he's dead. But what he fought for is actually greater than just his own freedom.
True. But they also talked about if you kill him, right, the Clancy Brown's character, you'd make him a martyr.
Correct.
So now, if he is actually dead, that's what he might be in the future, a symbol.
Well, to be fair, he was a symbol throughout the entire franchise.
He was a symbol of, people piss their pants as soon as they hear Baba Yaga, yes, but a symbol of, oh, he can go against the High Table. Because, I mean, it's been months with that big bounty on his head, and he was alive the entire time and killed one of their key guys at the end of it.
Two.
Who's to say if they didn't
Two.
group up? Like,
that was the second Marquis he killed. Don't forget.
who was the first?
The guy in the desert.
That's not the Marquis.
No, I thought he was.
No, that's the Elder.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well then guess what? He killed the Elder and then the Marquis.
Yeah, so 2 high-end High Table guys he killed before he died. And that's by himself. Now he has obviously Baba Yaga, Boogeyman's, a lot to live up to, but I think he might be a symbol for future films.
It's possible.
Like my only issue here is that the plot's a little weak in regards to what they set up in 3 to 4. By itself, 4 is a pretty good plot. It's just the expectation. Like if you binge watch these right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's going to be that disconnect, and that bothers me.
It's a small disconnect, though. I don't think it's anything crazy. Because essentially, because yes, they did kind of make it seem like Larry Fishburne and Keanu were going to go up against High Table together, but at the end of the day, it also makes sense for the Battery King not to get involved because even in 2 and 3, he really didn't get involved that much. He gave John Wick a gun, pointed in the direction, and said, "Here you go. This is how I'm helping you. Don't expect me to get my hands dirty. I'm the king." And that kind of continued, so it still fits that character.
I guess.
Like I said, I understand where you're coming from, but storyline wise, again, kind of like the Marquis, it tracks.
Okay.
Since we're talking about negatives, though,
Yeah. Do you have any negatives?
I do. We already mentioned it. Him falling down the staircase twice, because that was kind of like ham-fisted a little bit. I think the one time would have been enough, because by the
Yeah.
second time you just gotta go back and be like, all right, come on, like let's just get to it. Like we don't need this again. Like instead of whole big waves that he has to fight up the stairs, and then he's got to fight another wave, and then another wave. Let's just call it two waves and call it a day. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. First time it's like funny, but also heartbreaking that he did all this work and he's right back at the beginning. But yeah, it's like okay, that happens. Kane steps in, they do a team up for a few minutes, and then they go to the duel. Like that should have been it.
Yes.
Like it shouldn't be. Oh, we're doing a team up, halfway falling down the stairs again. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Um,
yeah, I get it. The first time
but
was
aside,
impactful. The second time, it's like really,
it's like, yeah, let's get to it already, pal.
yeah.
But aside from that, that's kind of the only negative I really have, because kind of like you said, character building was strong. New characters fit right in.
Mhm.
Um, didn't fully need backstories, but it works, right?
It does. It does. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't think it would work for a prequel, but like,
Yeah.
you'd have to do some de aging. But like the fact that the Continental Manager in Osaka, Kane, John Wick, right? How they're all supposedly brothers or best friends that go back years. I kind of want to see that.
Yes.
You know, he made a quick comment to his daughter, is like, I know I've known Wick more than you've been alive, so watch your mouth. It's like, oh, okay, so you guys been on some missions together?
Yes.
So clearly he sacrificed his life basically first for Wick and then his daughter. So clearly like they had each other's back up to a point back in time. And Kane was clearly not that happy that he had to kill him, but
He did it because his own daughter's life was at stake,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
which does speak wonders for Kane's character because he was forced to do it, but he didn't want to do it, and he showed it throughout the movie.
hmm Yeah, he purposely
Um,
did not kill a lot of people unless he had to.
correct. Most of the I'm drawing a blank on his name. Most of the continental characters in Japan, he did not kill.
No, he just beat them up or knocked them unconscious, and that's it.
He knocked him unconscious, and even with the manager itself, he was trying his best not to kill him. He was doing non-fatal wounds and said, fight another day.
Yeah, but to be
Well,
fair, the manager knew he had to die.
yeah,
No, the manager knew. I think his name is Koji. He knew he had to die because before the fight breaks out in the hotel, the daughter mentions to him, hey, heard what happened in New York. I'm kind of concerned. So he knows if he lives and a marquis comes to pay a visit, he's not a manager anymore, which means he doesn't need a concierge, which means his daughter dies. But if he
right.
dies, that should be enough to keep him happy, which it is.
This is very true.
So as much as he didn't want to die, it's like, okay, well, I live now with wounds and I watch my daughter die, or I die now and hopefully that works, which it does. But it
Very
does
true. It show that Kane didn't want to do it.
it doesn't, but this also actually continues the cycle of hatred. That's also very strong in this franchise.
Yes.
Like, oh, John Wick helps Kane out, breaks him free from the high table, can hang out with his daughter. But now you have Akira now looking to kill Kane, and Kane's expecting it. So, like, how much time will he actually get with his daughter?
But it goes into consequences.
It does. Actions have consequences.
Yes. Yeah.
This is a great
Fantastic.
franchise. It's just, I mean, really,
It
it's
really is. Yeah, it kind of is. The most solid franchise I think I've ever seen, where no one movie is astronomically better or worse than the other. But
yeah,
speaking of, do you think it's about that time, my friend?
yeah. I think it's about that time. Yes, I recommend watching it. Please see it in theaters if you can. Unlike some Nolan films, the sound for this is excellent. You're gonna want to hear these punches. You want to hear these shots fired. It's a great movie, start to finish. Quick mention, because I almost forgot. This movie's almost 3 hours long. This is one
Yes,
of
it
the
is.
best 3 hour paced movies. The pacing for this is amazing.
Yes. So it is about 3 hours long, and about 10 minutes of it, there's probably no action that happens. So
Yeah.
the rest is just the whole
But you would think
fast
almost three
pace
hours
and
of action straight, you'd be exhausted. They paced this near perfect to where it doesn't
oh yeah,
feel like, oh, yeah, no, this is almost as long as Avengers Endgame. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
no, no,
So
pacing was phenomenal.
give it a watch. If you haven't watched any of the John Wicks, they're on streaming somewhere. Give them a watch. Watch for. You're going to enjoy it.
I wholeheartedly agree. I also highly recommend the film. Watch it in theaters. View it how it's supposed to be viewed. That being said, Tyler, if you had to give a quick ranking, how would you stack this compared to the other three films?
Well, if I can give them all first place, I would, but that's not how these rankings work. So,
Whatever you say.
yeah. So ranking from worst to best, it's going to be John Wick Chapter 2. Someone's got to be in last place, and that's the one I pick. Then John Wick Chapter 3. Pacing in the middle of that was kind of weak. But again, still a solid film.
Mhm.
John Wick 1, and the best one, first place, John Wick Chapter 4.
See, uh, this is where a listener would feel a little bit different. So in third place, it is going to be John Wick Chapter 3 because it is my kind of least favorite. I think, like I said before, it
Mhm.
went a little bit too much of disbelief, and the pacing was not really on scale as the other
It was
three
not.
films. In second place would be John Wick Chapter 2 because it continued the lore of the John Wick franchise, the underworld, the hierarchy of things, what the markers mean, and all that. And yes, we're up to number one already, and that is because I can't decide what I like more, Chapter 4 or the first John Wick, because it's just too difficult for me. They're kind of on par with each other, despite them being very different. One was a very low budget film, obviously being the first one only made for 20 to 30 million dollars. So, granted, the scale is going to be a lot less, but as an introduction to the franchise, I don't think we
Mhm.
could have asked for anything better. And it started what we now have as the beautiful conclusion of John Wick Chapter 4, which compiled all the great things of the three films before.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw the film, you haven't seen it yet. The one thing I told you, and it kind of still feels like that, is Chapter 4 is like the greatest hits of the franchise, and it works.
It absolutely is.
You get a club
And then,
shootout, you get a hotel shootout, you get a shootout in the center of the middle of the city. Like, it's all new, but also it feels very familiar, and it is done beautifully.
it is. It is fan service done right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's enough about what we think about John Wick Chapter 4 and what our rankings are for the John Wick franchise. We want to know, did you see John Wick 4? Are you going to watch it in theaters, or are you not going to watch it in theaters and regret the rest of your life? As always, feel free to let us know at Entertainment Expansion. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.